A frustrating trait of emotionally immature parents is their need to be the authority on their child's reality. Instead of accepting that the individual self is the authority on its thoughts, feelings, and experiences, the immature parent thinks that their interpretation is the correct one. If a child tells them that they're hurt, the parent insists that they're being too sensitive or that never happened. You're not remembering that correctly. It wasn't that bad. If you tell them that you made a decision for a certain reason, they often have the audacity to tell you what your real reason was. A mature person realizes that the only intentions that we can ever be certain of are our own. It eventually becomes abundantly clear that your lived experience is irrelevant. The emotionally immature parent lives inside of a delusion that they've created. It usually begins in childhood. A child says they're scared and they're told they're overreacting. They say something feels unfair, only to be told it didn't happen that way. The child expresses excitement about something, and the parent tells them all the reasons they shouldn't be excited. Instead of helping the child understand themselves, the parent repeatedly replaces the child's experience with their own interpretation. The child slowly learns that their inner world is not respected or trusted. This pattern typically continues into adulthood. An emotionally immature parent will often confidently tell people what you think, what you feel, why you made a certain decision, when they never even asked you. They have no idea. If you correct them, they often dismiss your interpretation because they live by what they've already created in their head. In their mind, they know you better than you know yourself. The problem with this mindset is it only creates distance, not closeness. Healthy relationships are built through curiosity. People ask questions and then genuinely listen to the answer. They allow others to explain their own experiences. Emotionally immature parents typically skip this process entirely. They assume that they already know the answer. When somebody repeatedly tells you, when you're sharing your personal experiences, that you're wrong, typically you stop sharing. It doesn't feel safe to be honest with someone who has already decided they know better. As a result, many adult children become increasingly private. And this secrecy isn't about being dishonest, it's self-protection. The less information they share, the less the parent can redefine their reality. It's ironic because often it's the parents that demand to know everything who do this, and it actually causes them to know less and less about their child's life over time. This dynamic can also cause the parent to be increasingly detached from reality because they dismiss anything that doesn't fit their assumptions. So the internal narrative that they have about who the child is often doesn't look much like the real person. They may continue believing that you're irresponsible long after you've built a career and run a household. They may assume you're unhappy despite you repeatedly telling them you're content. They don't update their internal narrative when new information comes along. They keep reinforcing the old story, and eventually they end up relating more to some belief system than the person actually standing in front of them. One of the healthiest things you can do is stop trying to convince them that your reality is valid. It's just a waste of energy to try to explain something to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. You can calmly state your perspective when it's appropriate and let them disagree if they choose. My memory is what it is. You don't have to agree with it. It's not going to change my memory. Healing begins when you trust yourself again. You are the expert on your own thoughts, feelings, motivations, and preferences. No one else. Healthy people may offer observations, ask questions, and see things differently, but they don't insist that they have final say over your inner world. When you stop allowing someone else to define your reality, you become more authentic and more confident, and you're able to build relationships with people who are curious about who you really are than stuck in a narrative about who they need you to be. Have a good day.